Where is my soul? Today we are going to be doing a soul retrieval reading. It's a little bit unorthodox for a tarot reading because soul retrieval is actually more of a ritual and an experience than it is divination itself. But what we can do here is we can take a couple deep breaths together. We can come into a calmed state and then we can read on our energy and we can extract information from that, thereby with this Ace of Pentacles, which is perfect because I do see this sometimes as the soul. So it's awesome that it's here in my pre-shuffle. We also have the World card here. This reading it's for advanced souls. And what I mean by that is not that people are better or worse. It's that you've done a lot of work on your soul's journey with the World card. So what we can do from this place is we can gather parts of us, even from past lives, that we have forgotten or we haven't known about to begin with. So really what this is we're gathering pieces of our shadow, or really it's more Jungian than that. Like Carl Jung talked about with the shadow self being a capital S, right? It's more what this is it's more becoming acquainted with the parts of ourselves that have been suppressed. When I was preparing for this reading, I was hearing that song, Where is My Mind? How does it go? Where is my mind? Where is my mind? And we wouldn't necessarily think of the mind as being the soul, but that's what I'm getting today for this reading. This is a combination of unearthing the parts of our unconscious or subconscious mind, helping to bring them to the surface, because soul fragmentation, or feeling like, where are those pieces of my soul? Where have they gone? And honk honk, bringing out TW, the trigger warning clown. I'm not a doctor, but a lot of this can actually have happened through trauma, and we feel like these parts of us are gone when really they're not gone. They've just been fragmented. There is this ancient art called kintsugi, and that's coming to mind right now. I actually have this kintsugi egg, and I don't know where I have it right now, but basically what kintsugi is, if you've never heard of it, say like a plate falls to the ground and breaks. Kintsugi is the art of filling the cracks with gold. So when you put the item back together, it is actually worth more when it's broken than it was in its original state, because it's filled with gold. And I'm seeing that here with the Ace of Pentacles. It's actually an advantage that you've been fragmented, because now you can be filled with this pentacle, with this gold. All of those places on you that have been fractured and fragmented, think of those as being filled with gold with this Ace of Pentacles. Through your experience, through your life lived, you have a lot of wisdom because of that, especially with the World card. Shows me that you've been around the track a couple times. But this is not a reading that's just about, talking about we've gained a lot of wisdom. That is true. But there's this feeling that sometimes we can feel like there's parts of ourselves that are lost, or that they have been lost. But in reality, they're still in your possession. It's reminding me of the parable of the gold coin from the Bible, where the woman looked everywhere for the gold coin. It's like we look everywhere for this gold coin, Let me go get my coin. While I'm gone, take a few deep breaths. Now, this is slightly a joke, right? This is not anything. This is just a replica of the concept of Bitcoin, right? This is not actually worth anything. I used to actually buy gold coins. I used to buy the American Eagles, just as an investment. I sold them all back around the pandemic time. When I was going through financial pinch, I pawned those bad boys. But look at this. Just continue those deep breaths. This is what you have in your possession, this gold. But you just didn't know it. It's like nothing has been lost. It's just been misplaced. Or it was never known to begin with, which that's why this reading is kind of a combination of a past life regression with the world showing up for that, as well as a sort of a combination of like a sort of a hypnosis, where we can gather the things that have been suppressed. So as I shuffle, we're just going to take a few deep breaths to get us into a relaxed state. Now let's add a secondary element to our breathing. We're going to add a humming element to it, which can help us come into this kind of soul tuning. You breathe in, and then on the breath out, in. I'm gonna do a few more. Gonna get 3 cards. In. A few more. And one more. In. We have 4 cards here, starting with the Wheel of Fortune. This is a card of the soul. It's almost like a map of the soul. You know how people say that your birth chart is like the map of your own soul? See how these different beings are all reading books? Around this wheel, this actually says Torah, which I learned from my first tarot teacher. She taught me a lot of the ancient Jewish mythology. This is connecting back to the depths. It's like the deep past, this card. It's a Jupiter energy as well, which has to do with expansion and growth. And, that's why people call this planet Earth School, right? Interesting that we had the world and now we have the Wheel of Fortune. The world is the completion of something. The Wheel of Fortune is the movement. It's like this is the race. This is the journey. And as we move all the way through the major arcana, we end up at the world, which is the achievement. Really, the world is the coming together of the masculine and the feminine. That's why the being on that card is actually both genders. Excuse me. One could also argue that it's like coming together with, integrating with your shadow side and the side of yourself that you already know very well. That's why the Wheel of Fortune is also connected to karma. And karma is not good or bad. It's just what is. It's just you reap what you sow. Whatever you put out into the world boomerangs back to you in some form and at some time. And it could be 500 years in the future. It could be next Tuesday. Right? Now, with the Ten of Wands at the bottom of the deck, wow, and the Justice card is here as well, which is another card of karma. Very interesting. The Ten of Wands is a card of feeling burdened, feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. This is a hard planet to live on, the earth, the earth school. It can feel like you are, pushing this heavy weight up a mountain, and it just feels like the levels get progressively harder and harder and harder. And it can feel like aspects of ourselves get lost along the way. It's almost as if as he's traveling through this wheel, it's not really linear like this. It's more circular, and actually I feel it's more like this. It's more of like an upward spiral, which is what spiral dynamics is talking about. It's the evolution of humanity over time. So you could have felt like you lost pieces of yourself along the way, or you dropped one of these wands along the way. And the very thing that felt like a burden to you before, now it's something that you miss because you feel like a piece of you is lost. There was this example that I saw a few years ago. It was really interesting. It was something like this. I'm not sure if I'm remembering it correctly, but this is the concept at least. It's like everybody had a balloon, right? They wrote their name on the balloon, and everybody threw the balloon into into the room. And the point of that is that when everybody grabbed a new balloon, it's the concept of everybody wished that they could have their original balloon back with their name. Now, this was symbolic of the fact that even though we feel like our own life's circumstances are challenging, heavy, hard to deal with, if we were given somebody else's life, we would still wish for our form of hard to be given back to us. Because even though it feels challenging to move through this life, it's a dense, heavy reality. When we're missing a piece or a part of ourselves, it's like we would do anything to get it back, you know? It's like we don't want anybody else's life. We don't want things to be easier. If it really was taken away from you, if it was stripped away from you, you'd be surprised how you would feel. And that's what brings us to card number 2, which is the Nine of Cups in the reverse, which is being sad, dissatisfied. It's like you would have thought that getting rid of some of this weight of who you are, the essence of your being, that if you just got rid of everything, you would think that that would make you happy with the Nine of Cups. But it actually made you feel empty, hollow, dissatisfied. Even the hard stuff, even the dark stuff, the darkest part of your story, because it's yours. It belongs to you. And part of the way we gather back these pieces of our soul is actually in going into that shadow side, right? The stuff we don't want to think about, the stuff we don't want to look at, the memories that have been so painful, the things that we felt took our spark away. With card number 3, the King of Wands in the reverse, is feeling a sense of like an ego death, or feeling like we lost our confidence. But card number 4, this is the work. There's a woman by the name of Byron Katie who, I've read her book. It's very, very good, and there are exercises in it as well. And she calls it the work. And basically it's a series of exercises that help you process through things, process through the complexities of your own soul and how you view other people and how you interact with other people. Let's get some more cards here. See, with the Eight of Cups, some of us abandoned ourselves. And so really, it's not that somebody else stole a piece of yourself away through a Hong Kong traumatic event. It's that in that moment, you left your own self. You emotionally detached, probably at first, and I'm not a doctor, you probably first recoiled out of a traumatic situation, which anybody would have done. Right? Emotionally, we detach from things that hurt us, but sometimes what happens is a piece of ourselves get frozen in time and left behind. That's what trauma is. The book The Body Keeps the Score is a great book to read or have an audiobook of as well, to understand that actually those pieces of ourselves are not gone. It's that we actually abandoned ourselves, meaning we didn't consciously do it. It's like we did everything we could. It's kind of like with the death card. It's like if you have a near-death experience and you get in like trigger warning, some sort of a crazy car accident or something, and you survive, that can get trapped in the body. And if we don't consciously do that work to reassociate ourselves in a positive and healthy way with like driving, for example, for some people you might not want to drive again, and driving is just an analogy. It can be like a relationship, like maybe you don't want to get into another relationship again because somebody in your past, King of Wands in the reverse, treated you poorly, right? Maybe they just didn't have the self-esteem to be able to treat you with kindness. We have the Queen of Wands right here. That's very interesting. Yeah. This could have been a relationship for some of you where a piece of yourself got left behind. But with the Eight of Cups, and that's the point of this reading, it's not actually lost. It's that when you walked away or emotionally detached from a traumatizing experience, for some it's in love, when you detached from that, you actually left and abandoned yourself behind as well, that old version of yourself, because you associated that past version of yourself with that experience. We've got to go back to the time, the way we felt, the person we were, all our flaws, all our mistakes, the way we felt, it made us feel insecure. It made us turn on ourselves and abandon ourselves. We need to go back and get that abandoned person and take that person close to our hearts and reclaim it as our own. That no matter what happened to us in whatever situation that was, that is a piece of us, and that piece is valuable. That piece of us is gold. And so we call that piece of us back. Just say that. I call that piece of myself back and claim it as my own. I call that piece of myself back and I claim it as my own. It's a part of me. It's mine. Let's clean up these cards and start fresh, start new. See, we can start again with the Magician. We can reinvent ourselves. We can become a different person. But we don't have to leave that old person behind in order to become that. We can always keep that person inside of ourselves, even if we change and we evolve and we grow. It's kind of like having an old blankie from when you were a child, or like an old stuffed animal or something. You don't have to discard that part of yourself in order to evolve and grow and expand and rebrand. You can still keep that part of yourself, because those are the building blocks of what you are becoming. So we just need to reclaim all of those embarrassing, shameful, hurtful moments, because that's us. Those are pieces of us. Yeah, Five of Swords at the bottom of the deck. It could even be things where it's like I'm seeing this fawning response, where it's like this response of shock to somebody saying something really, really hurtful to you. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I feel like words can cause irreparable damage, personally, because you hear stories of people that they remember things that were said to them in 5th grade and they're 80 years old. And they carry that with them for their entire lives. And so if we don't reframe the words that were spoken over us, words are spells. And if somebody says to you, wow, you've got a big nose, wow, your nose is kind of like ugly, and then that stays with you your entire life and you never reframe that, it's going to stay as this like Polaroid picture. Shake it like a Polaroid picture. I don't know. There's something with that song. Could be the time frame that came out, that something like this happened with the Five of Swords. What is this Five of Swords? Let's look at it. Yeah, because with the Knight of Swords, this could be something that it still goes through your psyche. It goes through your thought patterns, yeah, with the world. We can close this out. What is this Five of Swords? Let's open it up. See, we have to not be afraid to gather that version of ourselves, that abandoned, orphaned version of ourselves, and bring it back. Bring it back. Yeah, we have the Five of Pentacles here. The Five of Pentacles is a card of feeling like completely rejected and treated like trash, treated like it's worth trash, like you're worth nothing. You know, people say it's like being left out in the cold, but what does that really mean? You know, if this is through somebody's words, Five of Swords, which are negative words that are just meant to hurt a person. This is not the sort of criticism that can help you and help you think through things and be like, oh, that's a good perspective. You know, I can see why you thought that. Let me think about that. No, it's not constructive criticism. It's destructive. It deconstructs the human soul, the spirit, and it can leave a person feeling in shambles. It can leave a person feeling homeless, without a home. Even though you live inside your own body, you can feel like you don't even want to live there anymore. And it causes us to abandon ourselves, or pieces of ourselves, or a more innocent version of ourselves that, you know, where we still believed in love, we still trusted people, you know, back before all this other stuff happened. And it can cause this fracture that leaves us with this imprint. I'm seeing it actually as like a brand. Again, I'm hearing that word rebranding, which I got on The Magician, where it's like a rebrand. Like, we talk a lot about brands today, right? You know, oh, what's your brand? It's like, even if you don't have your own business or you're not like an influencer on social media or something, we all have a brand, right? People know you by how you dress, who you are, how you present yourself. Like, so there's something here about somebody made a judgment on you and it branded you. Like, oh, I'm this sort of a person. I'm this, or I'm that. I'm what this person said that I am. And when in reality this person just wanted to hurt you. I always look at this on this card. This guy smiles as he's being devious. It's kind of like when somebody just thinks of the worst possible thing that they can say just because they know it's going to stab you in the heart. We can reclaim this abandoned, orphaned, left out in the cold version of ourselves. And look what we have next. The Ten of Pentacles. See, if we're left in the Five, we might have left Five of our Pentacles behind with this idiot's words, right? Or this could have been some sort of a messy breakup, a divorce, could have been fired, or it could be the other way around. You fired somebody and then they reacted at you, or you broke up with somebody and they reacted at you, or you said, hey, I need boundaries, or you went no contact with somebody, or even moved away with the Chariot. You know, you were living your truth, or you spoke your truth, and because somebody was disappointed in that, whatever situation that is for you, you changed directions in some way with the Seven of Pentacles, which we've been talking a lot about on the channel, because you were following your heart with the Queen of Cups. Could have been one of those sorts of situations, and then this person or people came back at you with all of these negative words that weren't even true, and it branded you. And it made you see yourself differently. So what we've got to do is go back and actually reclaim our Five Pentacles that were left with whatever this situation was, so that now we come out having everything back in place with the Ten of Pentacles, which is the completion of the Pentacles. We had the Ace of Pentacles at the start of this whole thing. That's the opportunity here. in this reading. And I can't do it for you. I can guide you through thinking through this process, but I don't know all of your individual details. But it's kind of like touching each one of these pentacles and like claiming those pieces of yourself back. You know, if somebody called you fat, if somebody, said you're a terrible person, if, whatever terrible things like somebody could have said to you, like, no, you're the gaslighter, you're the narcissist, whatever, just whatever it could possibly be. Like, how could you do this? But you're coming out as the Queen of Cups. So whatever situation this was where you got lost and left behind back there and abandoned your own self, you were doing it because it was the right thing to do in your heart with the Queen of Cups, whatever this may be. And so let's just go back and gather that part of us and take our pentacles back. This is taking our power back as well. It's not always just going to be this kumbaya, like, spiritual experience. Sometimes we have to get angry, just as angry as they got in the Five of Swords, so that we can get back what is ours, these pieces of ourselves. All right, let's see what else we can gather here. This reading has a little bit of a different pace than normal. I'm kind of just doing like a free flow with the cards. I'm not doing my usual 1, 2, 3 as I do. I'm just trying to see what Spirit wants us to look at here with this soul retrieval. Let's just breathe and allow for anything to come up. Where is our soul? Or actually, let's say it in your tense. Where is my soul? Just ask that question and see what comes up. Where is my soul? Where is my soul? We have the Six of Swords here. You could have felt like you had to kind of throw some of your bags over the side of this boat so that the whole thing didn't sink. It's like you might have felt like you had to discard pieces of yourself. And it's interesting that I'm using the word discard, because that is a term that narcissists, it's a term for narcissists for what they do with their victims. They discard, they devalue, and then they discard. Well, first they love bomb. They get you hooked. They love bomb, convince you that they're a specific person. And I have some videos on the channel talking about this sort of a thing. They hook you in, and then they begin to, with the Five of Swords, devalue you, and they discard, right? So something like that could have happened to you where, we have the Four of Wands here. This could have been a committed relationship, long-term, or it could have been a marriage, or just some sort of a contract here. Could have even been like an agreement in business, depending. Whoever this situation is regarding, you no longer speak to this person, or you've taken a break from contact with them. You've gone no contact. And now we have this Ace of Pentacles back around again. If you've gone no contact with somebody who is narcissistic and discarded you, they're saying good job. With the Six of Wands, that was successful. If you cut a cord with somebody, we also have a cord cutting ritual on the channel if you need one. If you want to cut the cord, but they're saying, for those of you who already did cut a cord, they just want you to know this is confirmation. It was successful with the Six of Wands here. Yep, just for confirmation, this was a relationship or a partnership with the Two of Cups. And now you're on your new journey with the Fool. For those of you who needed to hear that, you could have felt like you had to go on this kind of honk survival mode in order to bring yourself over these challenging waters into the calmer shores. Can I get a little more on this, please? Because I want to look into this Ace of Pentacles because it's coming out again. But first, tell us about this Six of Swords, please. Yeah, this Empress. Whatever this movement was, this calmer shores, where you went from something that maybe you actually were discarded by somebody. And it doesn't have to be romantic. It could even be a friendship, right? Where you thought somebody loved you. That's the kicker. You thought they loved you, and then they discarded you. They devalued, and then they discarded, and you felt in a state of confusion, because I'm seeing the Seven of Cups. What Spirit is showing is that this, whatever happened there, was actually the opportunity of a lifetime for you. Because through this experience, you were forced to look at yourself in the mirror. You were forced to go down deep because you felt like you had nowhere else to turn. And that's what turned you into, or is currently turning you into, the Empress as you are going on this journey to the calmer shores. And the Empress is just like the fullness of abundance within yourself. Like, you don't need anything else. Like, you don't need anyone else. Maybe you want somebody else. Maybe you want to have a 10 of Cups with somebody, you know, whenever you're ready, right? But with this Empress energy, this is like, I have everything I need, and I create my world around me. She just like sits in this throne, and all of the flowers just bloom around her, right? Yeah, it's like, that's what I'm seeing. This situation, as you bring back these pieces of yourself like we've been talking about, and you go back, even if it feels embarrassing, shameful, like the things that were said, look at it from the outside in as, hey, that's mine. That's a piece of me. That person was wrong about what they said. They were lying. They were devaluing me. It wasn't even about me. That's just the person they are, and they're going to do it to another person. You can look at it as like, no, that's mine. I'm getting my stuff back. And for a lot of you, that's what you already did by moving through this hard situation with the Six of Swords. But it's like, I'm seeing you literally going back and like getting the stuff that you had to throw off the boat, proverbially speaking, and getting all that stuff back. You know, and that when you get it all back, you're going to come out and see, oh my God, I'm the Empress. Like, you're going to see that you've become this new kind of creature because of what you had to go through. You had to foster this sense of self-love because this person brought you to the end of yourself, or this situation brought you to the end of yourself. And somebody else it would have destroyed. But for you, it's like you traveled light. You might have been in a fight or flight mode. You might have been in survival mode, but you made it through. You had to throw a couple things off the boat, but you're getting them back now. You're pulling back your power. You're retrieving pieces of your soul. And again, how we do that, it's through shadow work. It's through loving the discarded self. It's through loving the abandoned Five of Pentacles self. All the terrible things that other people made us feel, or that we even ourselves made us feel. Like, maybe for some of us, we've struggled with like substance abuse, and you know, we've gone through really hard things that maybe were even self-inflicted. It's like we abandon pieces of ourselves through that. So as we gather those back, it's really just a matter of self-acceptance and being like, I love myself. I'm proud of myself for making it through that. And even if like my parents weren't there for me, my siblings weren't there for me, my friends weren't there for me, my partner was a narcissist. It's like, even if everybody in the world has failed you in some way, you have yourself, and you made it through something that would have unalived somebody else. And that's what is creating this Empress. And that's really the opportunity of this reading. It's like bringing this to life, bringing yourself to life, bringing your soul back to life again. Let's read a little more on this Ace of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles with the Empress. I'm just seeing like this is an opportunity. Like, excuse me, all of the bad things you've been through. Six of Pentacles. Where did it go? I just put it back in the deck. Hold on. All of the things that you went through, all the bad, hard things, if you look at it, it's actually like those moments were investments. Like you don't go through things and it's just like, oh, that's gone. It's just blown in the wind. I went through this hard thing, but it was all for nothing. No. We can actually think about every bad experience we've ever been through and look at that. It's kind of like, imagine there's this like abandoned plot of land where you just threw like all these old seeds like years ago, like pieces of yourself were lost, you know, and then you go back all these years later and you see that the whole backyard is full of these overgrown like plants. Like nothing is wasted. All the bad stuff you've been through, it's actually worth something. And we should actually look at it as like, wow, it's the more bad experiences that I've had, actually, it's kind of like the better. Because that means that was an investment that I have growing currently still to this day, even if it was a long time ago. Because what I mean by that is it's in the mind. It's not literal. Like we don't go back and talk to these old people or be like, hey, I want my stuff back. It's not about that. It's not literal. It's the piece of you with the Strengths card that was developed at that time, but then we abandoned it, like we've been talking about, to get out of that situation. Because of course, as human beings, we shy away and get rid of stuff and move away from stuff that's painful and harmful. But really, it's like, wait, I'm going to gather that piece back. I developed something. Yep. Eight of Pentacles. I built something back there, and that was with my pieces of my own soul. Even if you tangled with another person, like, yes, it does take two to tango, right? You know, it does take a couple people to tango in a hard situation, but this is the thing. You built something, you developed something in all of those situations. Pieces of you that can only be developed through actual real 3D world experiences. This can't just be stuff in the mind. But now, currently, it's caught in the mind, right? Like, because it's long gone. Those situations we've been through are over, yes. But we can gather those right now through our own memories, through our own shadow side, through our own soul. It's all inside our soul. It's like we are a universe in and of ourselves. So we can gather this data at any time, even if we no longer see these people. With the Eight of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles. See, he planted this seed a long time ago. And now he's saying, hey, you forgot about this, didn't you? Well, here you go. It's like a knock at the door. And you get this, like, check in the mail. And you have to sign for it. And they're like, hello, hi, Melissa Gordon. I'm here. There are always going to be people who prefer you broken, right? My phone shut off right at the point that I was saying that there was a knock at the door with your investment, because even if it was a negative experience, you still get something out of it. Your soul progressed through a karmic lesson. This reading, if we break it down what we had so far, Wheel of Fortune, Justice card, the World. It's about karmic cycles and how your soul evolves through them. You always get a return on that investment because you did the work, right? The reason why people prefer you to stay broken and to not be whole, this is a card of being whole. The reason they prefer that is because then you will stay back with them on their karmic timeline, right? They're in detention. They want you back there. They don't want to do the work like you've done the work. So they want to keep you back in the Five of Pentacles, broken, Five of Swords, and feeling like you're not worth much, so that you don't see and understand that you're actually this empress, or you have the capacity to become this as you continue to do more of this soul work over time. So is it really a soul retrieval, or is it more just a return on your investment over time? This is a slow moving knight, and it takes a lifetime to build a soul and to go through the lessons that we need to go through in order to build those things. So it's like, see, they're still stuck in the past. They're still stuck in that old timeline. They tried to make you feel as low as they felt inside because they knew you were this. They always knew you were this. And so they tried to break you down and bring you down to their level. And now they're trying to keep you there. So it's like right when there was a knock at the door, the messenger arrives with the pentacle and says, hey, remember, you did all this work, and now this is your reward. And for a lot of you, your reward is just seeing yourself as you actually are, which is full, whole, strong. We had that strength card. 1, you are whole with yourself, self-love. You're a creative being. You can create something out of nothing. See, it's actually, if you think back on the situations you've been through, it shouldn't be a point of contention or shame. It should show how strong you really are, that you worked and built through something. And you actually, for a lot of you, tried to build somebody else up too and see that they had value and that they had worth. But you can't make people see that. But those people, nonetheless, do make good sparring partners. There's an old proverb that talks about, that when the two swords come together, they sharpen each other. It's like those Five of Swords moments with those people back there, like, yes, it was challenging. It broke us down in some ways, but at the same time, it did sharpen our swords. It sharpened our minds. It sharpened our skills. With that Six of Swords, we learned how to move through challenging situations and get through the other side to calmer waters. Even if we were like in a frenzy, we saw what we were capable of through those situations. And in turn, all it did was build you up and continue to move your soul along from lifetime to lifetime, while these other people are still just holding on to your coattails with the Four of Pentacles because they refuse to do the work. They refuse to look in the mirror. They refuse to look at their own soul. But here you are at this reading. Yep, and there's that Wheel of Fortune. See, they're back there. It's like they refuse to go around this wheel. They refuse to spiral upward into the higher parts of their soul. And that's not to say they never will, right? They're only betraying their own selves with the Ten of Swords as they continue to hold themselves back and just continue to start more and more drama with more and more souls in order to make themselves feel this illusion that they have advanced in some way or they're better than somebody in some way. Look, see, here's that King of Wands again that we had before. It's an illusion, though. They're not actually confident. They're not actually capable and strong and a leader. They could be if they did the work, right? but instead they're using this capability to break people down and to start drama and to avoid and not do their shadow work and stuff, right? So of course, when we get a knock at the door reminding us of this piece of ourselves that we left behind and it was actually growing this whole time as an investment, of course there's going to be people who come around saying things like, hey, actually, that's mine, or I get a piece of that, because if it wasn't for me breaking you down and beating you to a pulp, trigger warning, doesn't have to be literal, but why did I say that? Hey, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't even have that. It's like, no. And that's why they had you sign for it, King of Pentacles. That's yours, right? So that's why with this soul retrieval today, it's really that we are gaining back our own investments that we've made with other souls that grew our soul over time. So it's just all the way we look at it, right? You know, because we can look at it psychologically and understand that, like, we get frozen in trauma, which is true, of course. There's always a psychological aspect that I take with my divination. I believe that it needs to be a balance, right? That it's not just all about like, oh, these demons from my past are holding me back. They can attempt to hold you back all they want, right? But at the end of the day, this is just how this world works, this planet works, these laws work, right? It's about soul progression. And so really nothing's been lost. It's really just we've made investments with certain souls, and we have to remember to go to that. I'm seeing those old bank boxes where you lock away your valuables at the bank. It's like I'm seeing you being reminded, like, oh my God, yeah, I can go get all that stuff. And it's about integrating and actually looking at the things that we perceived as weaknesses, or we're ashamed of that, or I don't want to think about that, I don't want to go back to that negative space. You don't have to go back to that negative space, but go back just long enough to retrieve your things and yourself, because it's yours and it's valuable and it's worth something. It's actually worth more than it originally was. Remember we talked about the kintsugi, where you fill those cracks with gold? You're worth more now than you were before you were broken through that experience. But we've got to remember and integrate so that they're not just all these investments all over the world just left in these bank boxes for no one to see again, you know? So I hope this reading was helpful, guys. I asked everybody if they wanted to do a reading like this, a soul retrieval reading, and I got a lot of people saying that they did. So I did it for you guys, and I hope that it was helpful. So much love, everybody. It's been Missy Gordon, the Metamystic here. Remember, you can always listen to the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you want to book a personal, info is down below. And until next time, I'll see you on the next one.